Hello and welcome to this, the Crypto Club and Digital Assets weekly catch-up on Zoom. It is 16th of April 2023, and today, as is always, we're going to talk about whatever the audience want to discuss. Those who've not been along to one of these sessions before, stick around. We end up talking about blockchain, DeFi, NFTs, ICOs, STOs, TGs, any other three-letter acronyms really relating to crypto and the various parts around it. We hold these sessions every Sunday evening, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. UK time. They're open to everybody, novice and expert alike. So if you'd like to learn more about crypto, then this is great. Come along, join in. There's a link in the description below on how to actually join these sessions live. Come along and ask questions. Equally, if you're an experienced person or you're working on a project you'd like to chat about, come along and let's hear more about it. Hope you enjoy the session. Do click on the subscribe, the like, subscribe somewhere around here. Make comments, even better, as I say, come on to a future session. So with that, let's see who's going to come and join us today. Jeremy, hello. Got a couple of others joining in at the moment as well. Got Sergo, and it says Miss Green. Miss Green Jeans, hello.
Hello. Hello, everybody. How are you?
Hey, we're good. You came on yeah, you're going to say you were on a few weeks ago, weren't you? Before Easter sometime. Excellent. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
And I think Sergo, is it Sergio is joining us as well.
Yeah, correct, Gary. Hi.
Okay. Sorry if I pronounced the name wrongly. My apologies. Welcome back to those who have been before, and hello and welcome to those who haven't been before. So, Jeremy, I don't think I recognise the name. I would have thought algo dynamics is something I would have heard of. So do you want to tell us more about it?
Oh, crack! Is it pressure's on me now? Is it? I thought I'd just silently tune in and see what's happening, and here I am, basically. So yes, hello everybody. One of the partners at Algo Dynamics, AI company, and it's price forecasting on crypto. So it's giving you that daily, weekly visibility about, is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? Is it going to go sideways? And obviously that use case is robo-advisory. So we partner with exchanges, traders, high net worth individuals, and we construct portfolios for them. So that's in a nutshell. But yes, AI in price forecasting. There we go. That's the two takeaways for Algo.
Or a great combination. If you throw in AI, crypto, and maybe IoT, then you've probably got set, haven't you?
We Gary, seriously, actually, we had a quantum implementation about 2 years ago, so we even quantum compatible now. So we got all the buzzwords here. So
excellent. I think the only other ones you need to throw in is we're also aligning with CBDC stable coins, and we are of course ISO 20022 compliant.
Yeah, that's good.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming along, Jeremy. That's really good, and I did drop you in the deep end there. My apologies, but I always forget anyone who's got on their Zoom title, the company they're with, that always warrants. They probably have a marketing background.
It's default setting actually. It's changed venues here actually. It's I don't know why, just the way it was set up actually. So there we go. So sorry, I'm just doing a commute here, internal commute.
So I'll give you a bit of breathing room and just share for those who've not been along to these sessions before. They're totally open. We don't have like a fixed agenda or things to cover or anything, and they really are aimed at anything from novices right at the beginning of their crypto journey, or in fact before they embark on it, right the way through to the other end of the spectrum of real in-depth experts. And even had Nick Santos joined us a couple of weeks ago, who, for those who've not heard of him, or if I've given his name wrongly, he works with, I think it's Blockstream these days, and he's one of the core people around the Bitcoin space. So we get everything and everything in between. Really, it's open to whatever you want to chat about. So if you're a novice with questions about basic stuff like what's a wallet and what's this private key and all this kind of stuff, that's great. Equally, if you're running a project, as you're Jeremy, you're associated with something that's kind of up and running and you want to talk a bit more about it, that's fantastic as well. So it really is open on that. I was going to ask Sergio, do you want to say hi and where you're from and what you're up to? Thank you.
Sorry, Gary, I have a terrible cold. So, we met a few times at the CMS events.
Okay.
I do private placements. I run my own company.
Okay, brilliant. So CMS, so that's with, I'm trying to remember the lawyer's name now.
Charlie.
Charlie, yeah. Charles. Yeah, Charles, for those who are in the crypto space, they'll know Charles Kerrigan. He's one a bit of a legend in his own lunchtime kind of thing. He is really, really good. And he's been one of the advocates of the crypto space, and he's facilitated some of the events I've run in person in London as well. So it's really good. Great. Well, good to give her. Miss Green, Jeans, tell us more about yourself again. I've completely forgotten, having not spoken to you for a couple of weeks, what you're up to.
Well, at the moment, I'm just writing articles and doing research analysis on the market, in the crypto market itself, and blockchain development. I come from a financial background. I travel quite a bit, and I'm just in the space to listen to everybody else and, build ideas and see what's new to the market, talk about the market, and see where people think the market might be going.
So where you say market, do you mean the crypto market or the blockchain and DLT layer below it?
Yes, a DeFi market. I should just clarify that DeFi away from traditional finance.
Okay. So you're looking at more things around the whole yield farming and staking and
everything. I'm looking from CBDCs to AI to blockchain development to staking to synthetic derivatives. I look at every product that could be out there on the chain or possibilities of building it on the chain.
Okay. So there's some overlaps there where Jeremy's doing the analysis on the market.
Yeah.
And you're taking
if you want to reach out on LinkedIn, I could go ahead. Actually, I'll post it on the WhatsApp afterwards. Actually,
I'm not very social. This is about as social as I get. That's my problem. That's my problem. Is because I don't lend myself in the space, Jeremy. I wish I did, but I just write articles and I post them in various places. That's all. Because I'm just I'm not into group therapy yet. I have to learn a bit more how to share.
It's Web3. It's sharing. It's all about community, isn't it? Come on, everyone. That's right.
And you start off with a LinkedIn profile after going on to Zoom, and then before you know it, you're running Telegram and WhatsApp channels and all sorts of exciting stuff.
And I have that already. That's what I mean. I have that already from the traditional finance background. And I was out in Hong Kong actually last 3 weeks. I've just come back. That's why you haven't seen me. And just picking up information and talking to people out there and just, trying to, and just trying to build an idea of where we're going forward from that perspective, because as you're aware, the US is really lagging behind on regulation and trying to get some kind of formalities in place, whereas Asia is absolutely speeding up light years ahead. They're moving so quickly, as is the Middle East. The adoption rate is huge at the moment. I
think that's definitely. And we've got a couple of other familiar faces I recognise as well, or familiar names. So we've got Dom. Hi, Don Longman. Say hi.
Hey, Gary. We've actually done a panel together many years ago, about 2018, I think it was.
Wow, it's kind of you define everything by pre-COVID and post-COVID these days, don't you? That was true. What were we up to, Dom? What were we doing?
Oh God, it was a crypto panel. I can't remember. A long time ago. What's the form? Should I do a little bit of background?
Yeah, this session is totally open to everybody, beginners, novices, experts. It's always useful just to do a quick intro around the table kind of thing, though, so people know where people are from and why they're saying certain things maybe and which country they're in as well.
Sure, so apologies for joining late. Glad to see a call out to the Middle East. I'm Dom. I'm currently head of Binance Abu Dhabi. I'm actually in the Heathrow Lounge right now, flying back this weekend. Basically got into crypto, 2008, 2009. I was head of payments at Bank of America and saw Bitcoin as a possible competitor for the future, and everyone thought I was absolutely mental. Did a few other things. Then at the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority in about 2016, started to look at utilizing distributed ledger technology to mitigate geopolitical risk. But I put my money where my mouth is. So 2017, set up a digital asset custodian. Co-founded one called Trustology, so was in consensus for a little while. So that's how I knew Gary. Did a couple of panels, then usual good crypto form. Big fallout with my co-founder. Did a few others. There was one called Coiny, which was in London for a while. Lots of advising, other bits and bobs. And then, worked on Adara, which is the tech behind Finality, which is the UK central bank digital currency that's sort of occurring right now, or pseudo, because it's issued by Finality. And started a packet in Abu Dhabi to head up finance. So got us fully licensed custodian. and building that out fly back tonight. So I thought I'd come and join you.
Hey, very good. Well, welcome back and welcome on board, Stefan. It's a shame William's just dropped off the call. William Maguire's another familiar name. The great thing about the whole crypto space is that we all end up knowing each other in some way. I describe it a bit like Hotel California. For anyone who knows the lyrics of the Eagles song of "You can check out, but you can never leave." That kind of feels a little bit like crypto or whatever. You've got JT's joined us as well. Say hello, JT.
Hi, everyone. How's it going?
It's good. On which country are you in at the moment, JT?
Oh, I'm back in London now. I'm tired of traveling, so not for long. Next week on the road again.
Are you going over to Consensus then?
No. It's those, you don't get much out of them.
Yeah. I happen to mention it because I know a bunch of people who are going to Consensus, which is a big conference in, I think it's Austin in Texas, is it the 23rd to the 26th? I think it is. So, yeah. Miss Blue Jeans or Green Jeans or whatever. Are you going out there? No.
You're muted, yes, sir.
Oh, no, sorry, not this time. I'm actually in Ibiza. I have 2 weeks of work in Ibiza. Believe me, it's work. It's not fun.
Sounds
I've never heard the word Ibiza and work put in the same sentence.
I know nobody believes me. It is work. I promise you, it is work.
Well, there's people that work there.
Yes, of course. Yes, we do some work there. But no, I'm actually doing Ironman out there. So I will Iron Maiden out there. So I'll be out there training for 2 weeks.
So you're doing what out there?
Iron Maiden.
That's what it's with you saying Iron Maiden. My ears pricked up. It's like,
yeah, well, I call it
doing
Iron
what?
Maiden. I'm trying to be genderific. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. Excellent. That probably links in nicely with the next lady on the group earlier. Elena, good evening to you.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Elena.
Yeah. Elena's based out in Ireland, and is finishing off the MiCA digital currency course at the moment, aren't you? How's that going? Having fun?
It's discipline before having fun.
Yeah. For anyone,
only after you put in some effort, then the fun part starts.
Yeah. But for anyone who doesn't know, the University of Nicosia do a MOOC, so a massive online course, I think the letter stand for, where they actually do a master's degree, so an MSc in digital assets and digital currencies, but they do an intro type thing, which is about a 13-week course, if I remember correctly. So it's online, involves people like Andreas Antonopoulos, I think, and a couple of the lecturers. Fascinating course, which I learned quite a lot about when I went on it, but it's hard work. There's a lot of studying, that kind of, but it's free. And for anyone who's learning about this kind of space, really wants to understand about how wallets are constructed and crypto and fees and everything, really interesting. So good one, excellent. So with that then, I'm just going to facilitate this evening, really. Does anyone want to ask any questions, anything they'd like to share? Or am I going to get 5 people saying, I'm just here to listen to everybody else?
It's a general thing of feedback, actually, that the London Stock Exchange, I think it was posted on the WhatsApp group, but I think that was really encouraging, actually, the LSE getting involved with the Bitcoin. I think it's futures and options, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think that's very positive news. I think somebody made the point about, Far East and Middle East are ahead of, so we've got some catching up to do, but I think it's going in the right direction, so it's encouraging. So yeah.
I think the thing with the US and regulation as well, it's not necessarily that they've got some catching up to do, because they seem to be very good at writing an awful lot of regulations and legislations at the moment. It's actually catching up in making it appropriate and fit for purpose. Because I agree, the Middle East, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, UAE, some amazing stuff going on there, and obviously Dom is plugged into that with the Abu Dhabi stuff. the Middle East seems to be much more receptive to crypto, whereas the US regulators seem determined to close it down from every avenue they possibly can at the moment. So, well, Dom, how are you finding things with the regulators at the moment?
Oh, yeah, I work very closely with them. I mean, to be fair, Abu Dhabi's had regulation for virtual assets since 2017, I think. Started by Chris, who was then at, oh God, what's the, not Nomura, what's the other Standard Chart one? Zodia, right? Look, it's not just the regulation which helps. Obviously, also the laws recognise it. So virtual assets is a foreign bankruptcy point of view is a recognisable asset class in a bankruptcy scenario in the law courts. I don't think there's anywhere else globally that has that yet.
Yeah.
But it's the mindset, the culture, the focus on building out a competitor in the financial rails perspective, particularly, but also all other aspects of crypto versus Web3 companies, etc. Plus the capital is there, right? I mean, I'm on something called Hub 71 in Abu Dhabi. I'm one of the advisors on that. We can set up a $2 billion fund to try and bring investors in, bring companies to the region with no issue at all. The UK's, you just can't do that. And we all know what the UK regulations and totally with the US, I've worked with them for many years. They have multiple sways of regulation. It's more the attitude right now is, I think, more of lack of knowledge, and therefore what we're going to do is try and, I wouldn't say they just picked on Binance and pick on everyone, right? Coinbase the works, they're shutting everything down.
Yep.
And it seems to be a protectionist play for the existing state rather than fostering what could have been a brilliant opportunity for employment and careers and jobs, right? So that's sad state. So yeah, the Middle East is thriving. Obviously, we've got VAR in Dubai, different regulator. There's other stuff coming up in some of the other Emirates. Saudi should be coming through, I hope, next year, or some stuff. Obviously, never mentioned some of the stuff they're already doing. Hugely picking up. It's funny, I had Hong Kong regulators give me last year because they were trying to see how Abu Dhabi and the Middle East is competed and actually now seen by MAS in Singapore as a competitor, and they're kind of catching up, which I think obviously recent announcements in Hong Kong are showing that they are catching up.
And it's interesting as well. You look at HKMA, which is Hong Kong Monetary Authority of Singapore, as you say, MAS, and UK FCA. And at first, you could see there's like a 3-horse race between them for a while, of them kind of collaborating, competing, playing with each other and that kind of thing. And then the Middle East just appeared out of nowhere. It's like, oh, they're just getting on with it. So,
and to be fair, it's easy to knock regulators. It's more about, particularly in the UK, with Trustology back in 2017, we were trying to get regulated. Obviously, there's really crypto regulations still, specifically on custody there. The talent they have with the budgets they have in the MAS and ADGM and VARA, they can bring in top talent and have great regulators and people in the business. FCS or FCO, whatever it's now called, I can get a conversation for 2 years, and for then it's someone who's probably just post-grad, who's doesn't know what. To be fair, it's not their fault. They just don't have the funding, so they don't know what they're doing. It's a really difficult situation in the UK, sadly, and it's just not my home country anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's good. At least they recently appointed a new CEO of the FCA, who I think came from New Zealand, and he's traditional finance background, but seems to have a good enough different approach. So we'll see where that goes. I just want to say hi. I see we've been joined by Ellie's iPhone, it says. So I'm guessing you're Ellie. Hello. Do you want to say hello? You just put yourself onto mute and then started speaking, which is...
I attended some of your meetings a while back. I'm in Arizona. How are you?
Hey, we're good, thank you. So this is good. We're getting the spread of the world on today. Sometimes we get people from California and Australia as well. So it's good to see you back, Ellie.
Good, thank you.
And exciting news. We were talking about regulation and that kind of thing.
I overheard the story about the U.S. is good at producing regulations, but they are very immersed in finding always a way to stop it. There's too much bullshit going on. And I think the U.S. is afraid of losing control of their own currency to crypto. Anyway, so that creates roadblocks. left and right, left and right.
Because did I see something going through the Senate this week around stablecoin regulation?
Hmm.
Which
Equities.
Because I think the regulators beginning to realise it's not necessarily crypto that's the problem. It's actually stable coins that are pegged against a traditional currency that are the problem, because that means that all of a sudden you carry the risk of actually harming the fiat currency in some way, which is their bigger concern. That's an interesting one. So
I think the worst is still to come. I've seen on Friday what the SEC has done, where they want to amend the regulations for exchanges. And they're going to put a little bit about crypto, and then they will make it really, really hard for anyone to operate. And they just need to kill off, ramp on and ramp off, and that's it. It just ends crypto in the US, and my opinion, they are preparing to do exactly that.
So that's decentralized exchanges, though, because crypto hasn't been listed as an asset or a commodity yet. So the CFTC has to get involved, and they haven't gotten involved yet. So SEC can only do so much with regulated exchanges. And I believe Gary Gensler will be in the hot seat on Tuesday, which will be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. What's the thing on Tuesday? Is that relating to the Ripple case, or is it a different thing?
It's a Senate. He finally is going to sit in front of the Senate, which is going to be brutal. Yes, I enjoy watching these things. I do, because, the US Senate committee members are very difficult to deal with, because they have a certain time limit in which they can pose their questions. And you don't have terribly much time to answer. So you often end up, trying to explain something, but have maybe 3 seconds to make a full explanation before the committee member moves on to another question. So it definitely will be interesting, to say the least.
That'll be fascinating as well, because I've seen a couple of things that the SEC's done with a couple of court cases lately, one of them being Ripple, obviously. And there was another one, the name of which escapes me for some reason, which they're now using as precedent around fair notice for things like Ripple and that kind of thing.
For the Wells notice, is that what you're speaking about? Are the Wells notices they're issuing to all for the exchanges?
It may be something related to that. It was something that they actually got a court decision on something, which I thought it was a company beginning with V, which means it's probably something completely different the way my brain works. But they used it as evidence of the company had been operating under the fair notice principle of knew what they were doing when they were breaching some things. And so they used that as a submission to the Ripple case, again asking for summary judgment, saying this shows they've got fair notice, blah, 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 blah. But there's so many things going on with that at the moment that I keep losing. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I'll keep an eye on the Senate for this Tuesday then. Yeah. So that'll be interesting. That's certainly the Ripple and SEC is certainly in the news, because the other thing as well was there was another case with CFTC. Yeah. I seem to remember where they declared Bitcoin and Ethereum as cryptocurrencies, but kind of left the rest open as to whether it was commodities, crypto, or whatever. So
it might be the other way around. I think the SEC said it was an asset class as a money payment generator, whereas CFTC, they were more likely to be a commodity, because with either apples, oranges.
Well, the SEC is going to be taking the stance that it's a security, because that allows them to manage it. CFTC will take the basis that it's a commodity, because that allows them to manage it. US Federal Reserve will call it money, because then the banking acts come into play and they get by. So every regulator is calling it whatever it is that they happen to regulate. So I guess they get funny. So it's crazy. So Ellie, I feel quite sorry for you in the States, because you've got so many regulators trying to stake a claim in this space.
I agree. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So Jeremy, let's bring you back again. You actually did a nice little intro earlier on, but it was before a number of people came on board. So I made the comment that it says you're from Algo Dynamics.
It's showing up. So the problem when you configure your phone, isn't it? And it sort of shows up everywhere. So yeah, I'm one of the partners for new people joining. I think JT, we've had a few chats already, basically. So I run an AI company. It's crypto forecasting, and it's used for robo-advisory, high net worth individuals, and portfolio construction. It's interesting. We have business in the US, actually, so I like following how these things go, actually. And there's a sort of hardcore sort of group. It might overlap with some of the Republicans, actually. You know, they love crypto. They absolutely love crypto. So it's a bit like a lot of US politics. I'm seeing, you know, it's very polarized. So it's interesting to see how these things develop, actually, you know, very state by state too, obviously. I think, you know, so California versus Texas versus the other ones, basically. So I find it sort of...
well, I find it interesting as well.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'd be interested to hear Dom's comment on this as well. You know, in the US, all the regulators are fighting with each other to claim provenance and that. Whereas in the Middle East, the regulators in each country seem to be working with each other. Is that an accurate assessment?
Oh, yeah, I'll be careful. So a couple of questions. First thing is that we are on the Charterhouse rule, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. So just before you say anything else, this is recorded. However, if there's anything you want to say where you want it chopping out the recording, because I do post some of this stuff to YouTube and that kind of, just say, and I will edit that out. That's not a problem.
Got you. You know, the regulators, you know, VARA, you know, ADGM, we also have obviously activity in Bahrain. You know, they tend to work, you know, I suppose at arm's length. ADGM has a very specific focus. They've obviously had regulation for a significant period of time. VARA in Dubai is focused purely on Dubai as an emirate. But, you know, there's a lot of overlap in place. What they're trying to do is generate, you know, for that country, particularly where I am, you know, a whole ecosystem that will work to, you know, have a massive plan for 2030 or 2040 it is now, you know, moving away as an oil economy. So they're looking to foster anything, and they think regulation is really important. I find it, I just wondered particularly back to the US, and again, this is me, not finance, is around, it's funny that this past week or two, a lot of the US banks, I'm an ex-Bank of American, have been coming, and I think they still own probably the largest amount of trademarks regarding blockchain DLT technology out there. Even they have been announcing not crypto, but virtual assets and tokenized assets is the use case, is the killer use case. So is what's happening with the regulators in the US now, in a way, clearing the path, ready for those large incumbents to then take advantage of that?
Because I guess for those who aren't aware, that there's a term that I've come to hear about, which is VASP, which is the virtual asset service provider. And there's a lot of regulation which is commingling, whether it's from FATF, which is the Financial Action Task Force, and about tracking and tracing transfer of funds, whether their funds are fiat or crypto. And there's a lot of talk around things like the travel rule, which is this obligation around being able to track and trace where crypto's come from and where it's gone to. And a lot of that seems to relate to these VASPs, which is this whole virtual asset service provider, which is kind of like I think of them as like payment providers, but in the crypto space.
Well, it could be anything, an exchange, it could be anything, but when they're, you know, if you look at what they're talking about there, they're really talking about tokenized equity, tokenized bonds, tokenized the asset classes that, you know, the DTCC is currently, you know, pretty much the CFD grade for. They all now seem to be talking about that as a real tokenized play, whereas which I haven't seen that kind of messaging certainly from a Bank of America until this week. So it's funny that, you know, the regulators are kind of clearing the path, I think, trying to put their marker out, as people were saying, probably in prep for the utilization of blockchain technology alongside some of the projects that the DTCC have been doing for years to move the markets forwards, which could mean some level of movement away from some of the SWIFT networks.
Yeah, because it's interesting as well, you're talking about other kind of like tokenization of assets. And one of the other terms that seems to be coming into vogue at the moment, and this is where I keep saying in the crypto space, you know, about every 12 to 18 months, you get this wave of hype around something, whether it's ICOs, then STOs, then TGEs, then DeFi, then NFTs, blah, blah, blah. So I think the next one's going to be RWAs. which for those who don't know what an RWA is, it's a real world asset. And it's all about the tokenization of whether it's real estate or shares or whatever.
I forgot to add one thing there, Gary. I agree with you totally on that. And I kind of been saying this for almost 1.5 years, yeah, that next cycle is going to be real world assets, but with NFTs attached to it.
Yep.
That's going to be, and I think NFTs next cycle, I can see Dom's face already, I think he understands quite well what's going to happen. It's going to be, NFTs are going to be like hundreds of times bigger than what it was.
Yep.
And it's going to be real assets. And one more thing, dynamic NFTs. Anyone that has some clever implementations of dynamic NFTs and real world assets, it's going to be quite good for the next cycle,
So go on, JT. I'll ask this out of naivety. What's a dynamic NFT?
Well, basically, on a NFT, you have parameters that are predefined, encoded in the smart contracts, and they'll find the characteristics of the NFT. We have more of this or more of that, whatever. I don't want to specifically say which NFTs, but you pick up whatever. So what you do is you code the smart contracts to actually have the variable, all of those things variables, what it means is it gets data from whatever you're trying to see out there in real world. It could be just data coming, I don't know, from a specific, I can be very specific. Some of the things we are doing, for example, is on our network, the nodes, we're going to attach NFTs to nodes, So you can become a node operator, you basically get one of the NFTs. The NFTs dynamic parameters are going to be, your behaviors as a node operator, all of those, we get about 1,100 arguments from every single node operator, So we just select about 7 or 8 that are quite important, that define really the behavior and what they do, and all of those parameters are constantly changing, So based on those, the algorithm is going to decide who are the best node providers, and then the rewarding, for those node providers is going to be based on that. Of course, the NFTs then will go up in value because they can actually then start to trade if they want to exit to be a node operator. They can exit. So this is just an example. But there's going to be so many things that people are going to do with dynamic NFTs.
So let's just explore that a bit more for a minute, because it sounds like what you're describing is what I'd call a parameterized smart contract. So I think anyone who's used computers, it's parameterized. But smart contracts are normally fed from an oracle, so a single trusted data source. And one of the things about a smart contract running on a blockchain, so say running on Ethereum's EVM, whatever, is that it should be deterministic. If you feed in a number at one end, it should always come out with exactly the same number, no matter which node you put it through, blah, blah, blah type thing. If you've now got nodes competing with each other in terms of doing those calculations, isn't there a risk that they might start coming up with different numbers and it's not deterministic? Or am I missing the point?
No, not really, because to run a node, you need to download a specific agent, Well, it doesn't matter which network, and that agent is going to provide the parameters based on your behavior as a node provider, And if you define the actual parameters, the parameters are fully defined, It's just the values of those parameters that are changing. And if you have an algorithm that then can actually score, who are the best node providers, then that has a big impact, and on the value of what you're trying to provide, So there's nothing wrong with that, Gary.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to conceptualize this in my head. That if we take it back a step of how a Bitcoin miner works, for example, there you've got a load of nodes that are all competing to come up with the same answer, and consensus is achieved when a majority agree on what that answer is. So I'm fine with that as a distributed computing idea. What I'm just struggling with a little bit is where you're now talking about nodes that potentially
Well, I'm
trying
not
to
talking
come up with
about-
different answers.
I'm not talking. Yeah, I'm talking about the next generation. Yeah, of
Okay.
networks, and they don't have actually to be blockchains. Okay, so
Okay.
remember that not everything needs to be a blockchain.
Right. Okay.
So,
So
yeah, it's totally different. Of course, in a Bitcoin network, that wouldn't work. I totally agree. It depends on the implementation, depends on what you're trying to do on your network. Yeah.
okay. So if we just quickly take that a level further, that my definition of a smart contract is a computer program. That's all it is. It takes an input, does some process, produces output. So it's a computer process. So if you're using the phrase a smart contract in the concept you're using it, what's the difference between that and just having different computers doing different things?
Okay, so
not on a blockchain.
For example, what we do is we have a multi-chain strategy. Yeah? We run the smart contracts on multiple chains. Yeah,
Okay.
but we also have our own network, totally centralized and distributed. Yeah, but we don't need a blockchain on it.
Mhm.
Yeah, because the combination of both enables you to have a much stronger decentralization. So you run smart contracts on multi-chain, very hard for anyone to break and try, because we do the encryption on the smart contracts, yeah, for example. Well, it's a mix, yeah, and then that's the management of the nodes that happen in smart contracts, yeah. Do you understand now? So then, basically, on our network, the node, the people going to run the nodes are going to provide all different type of actions, you know, like routing, yeah, messages, for example, you know, it's just once providing bandwidth, provide all sorts of things. And for those things, you don't need a blockchain. Yeah, actually, we will put a blockchain in about 2.5 years, and the full architecture is defined in that way, because we're going to have then introduced quite a few other things. Yeah, quite revolutionary, but.
So if I describe this, and this is me trying to simplify things, which is not necessarily a good idea, but I'll have a start anyway. That effectively
it's a very good idea, Gary. Keep going, because I think, you know, just about got the wallets working, just about got the layers 1, the layers 2, the bridges working. He's like, guys, I'm sorry, do we need more innovation here? I don't think so. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, JT, I'm being a bit negative here. I don't think we need more innovation, guys. I think we need simplicity. I think we need to dumb it down, and we need to, you know, 1 + 1 type things. Sorry for intervening.
Yeah.
Gary,
I don't disagree with you. The simplification is
Yes.
on the actual how the user interacts with that. This is, we're talking about the, you know, 2 levels below of the user interaction. The user never going to see the blockchain working. It's never going to see the smart contracts. Yeah. So, you know, we need innovation, a lot more innovation in infrastructure, because it's still not good, you know?
I'm going to agree with both of you. That I actually think the innovation we need is in making things easier to use for people.
I agree with you in that, but we need innovation to make sure that those things work well and fast.
Yeah.
And the infrastructure is not there yet. You know, we all know that.
I think it's reconfiguring the existing infrastructure. I think it's being clever about what we have, basically, because I mean, the number of new projects I see in the layers, I'm getting tired of seeing new stuff. I'm sorry for being negative again, but I think, you know, can we standardize a bit? You know, nothing wrong with Ethereum. You know, your top 5 layer 1s, they're okay. They work. They do stuff, right? I think we just need to be a bit more straightforward about what the use cases are. So. I know we can go on all night here, but yes, I think that's strong news. Yeah.
So I'll play the dumbest person in the room.
Go, Gary, go. We need you. Come on, help us. Yeah.
If I can bring it down to my level, then hopefully everyone else will be able to understand. So JT, to think of it in a slightly different way of old-fashioned, if we think about the days of SAP systems and Oracle Financials and SaaS systems and all this kind of things, which were these behemoth monolithic client-server solutions with a single box in the middle that everyone kind of talk to. What you're talking about is moving that from being a single application in the middle, so kind of like a mainframe architecture, flipping it so that all the processing is done out at the client end, but you're now calling them nodes, with some plugging into blockchains for maybe auditing and control or whatever. Is that roughly right?
Yeah, it's a bit more than that. You know, if you think about when big data came out, you know, we're talking about distributed computation, yeah?
Yep.
But it's just like, it was just one authority, basically, running the servers distributed, in an environment. Hadoop type of systems, for example, was one of the very first big ones that could do this type of things. And then after that, people continuing and actually, if you look at blockchain and you're going to look how it came to that point where Satoshi created the concept, it was already, most of it was already created by other people like Stornetter, Professor Stornetter, etc., So what we're looking here is pretty much what you said, but in a different way, because you're combining a multi-chain strategy where you can deploy the contracts across all the chains that you want to implement, plus you're running your own network to achieve decentralization in many different ways. So I think you know what I'm doing, and I don't think many people know here. So basically what we're doing is a communications protocol. So people calling us the Web3 Zoom, but it's a lot more than that, okay? So it is a protocol, multi-chain, our own network, plus all the tools on top of that, video conferencing, messaging, Discord, you name it, everything. We're going to build everything, So one of the things, actually, I need to talk to you because you should start to use our tool, to do these things, It is fully decentralized because the way that Zoom works, the way that Google Meet works, is that they run the servers themselves. So what we're doing here in this call needs to get decoded. First of all, it cannot be encrypted when it's recording. It's impossible. There's no way to encrypt while it's recording. Okay, so this can be intercepted by anyone out there, that knows a little bit, about video conferencing. But if you're not recording, it's encrypted, very low level of encryption, WebRTC, also possible to break. But when it gets to their servers, they need to decode, and encode again because there's many participants on the call. That's how it works, because there's no peer-to-peer directly with more than 3 people. It doesn't work. There's no HD video quality. So they run the nodes. Of course, they can record everything. Okay, you can throw your imagination, many things. If they do or they don't do, I'm going to stay quiet. I can have one-on-one conversations about that. But, it stays recorded on some government server, potentially, allegedly, every single thing that you say on any tool out there. Now, by running our own network of nodes where people are actually providing the routing, across the world of peer-to-peer, plus the bandwidth, plus that's about 4 things actually that they provide. People run the nodes. They get rewarded our token for doing that, But the combination of having smart contracts of multi-chain means the encryption that happens between all of us participants on the calls is the public key of our wallets that goes to those smart contracts, And then a new level of encryption happens, and encryption then goes back to your own browser, which means that it's not possible anymore to snoop into those conversations, So that's the idea.
So where you say the node to the network, is that running across the internet backbone still?
Yes, absolutely. So anyone will be able to download. Actually, we're going to publish it in about a couple of days. We got a Linux and the Windows also VM, so anyone could then run those nodes.
So if I super simplify that, it sounds like what you're doing is you're converting everything into packets, and you're sending the packets peer-to-peer, reassembling them at the destination where they need the public key.
Not us, you, each participant on the call.
Right. Okay.
That's how it works, because it's peer-to-peer, but it's routed by the network, by all the net. So that doesn't have to be blockchain. So then, when we're going to do the messenger, that's when the blockchain becomes quite interesting, and that's when we're going to implement. But we're talking further ahead, just launch the video conferencing and the network is quite a challenge, as you know.
That's right. Okay, thanks, HKC. I'm going to open it up for anyone else.
Sorry, just before we move, one more thing. We simplified exactly what you said, the user experience, because even if you don't have a wallet, Yeah, we found that we haven't seen anybody doing that. I don't know anyone doing this. We actually create a wallet in the background for you. So we have a quick account that creates a wallet for you, and then dumps everything in your browser storage. Yeah, and then authenticates with your wallet key straight away to the smart contracts. Next time you come, you don't need to connect anything. You authenticate you straight away. So you don't need to do like seed phrase this and all of that stuff. So it means we can capture Web 2 users as well, not only Web 3. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Simplification is the key.
Yeah. So I'm going to stay with the topic, but open it up of anyone else, any questions in terms of anything on that.
I was going to open it more for, because you talked on dynamic NFTs, and we were very much down that solution. My interest is more actually going back to those real world asset pieces, right? The whole point of dynamic NFT is that you can better represent a real world asset. I don't know, click on something simply, diamond. Its properties, its attributes change as it comes out the ground, all the way through to multiple real sales, etc. Which all sounds wonderful, but has anyone seen a real actual usage of it at this point in time?
Yeah, Everledger.
Yeah.
Everledger is what I describe as the poster child of blockchain.
Yeah.
So in about, I think it was about 2016-ish, I think it was, there was a UK startup who were at a hackathon, and Leanne Kemp was one of the people involved in it. They set up a project called Everledger, and that was all about diamond provenance. And they've since created that. They did it, I think.
Sorry, I didn't mean diamonds. I meant actual dynamic NFT. So 1155s or other ones. I haven't seen.
I came across one. Dom, I will ping you on WhatsApp. Yeah, I need to talk with someone that introduced me a guy that we're looking at the tokenization of real estate. So if you have a dynamic NFT represents, let's say, a flat, a house, whatever.
Yeah. I was part of the Brooklyn project many years ago when we did that, which was a consensus project, which was small.
Yeah, so it looks at past sales, maintenance history, blah blah blah. Council tax in UK, for example. All the things, and those values will change over history, obviously.
Send that on to me. I'll be really interested.
The other one, Dom, without dropping names of people who aren't on the call, but do you know Anthony Abel from TPX Exchange?
No.
So Anthony, again, I've known him for a number of years in the UK. They've got TPX Exchange. They're doing tokenization of real estate, and they're one of the few projects. I think I've actually seen about 60, so that's 60 failed real estate projects now where they've tried to tokenize real estate, and they discover in the UK there's a limit to how many people can own a property, and I've even got to the point where one law firm invited me in once, wouldn't tell me what project was about, showed me an organization structure chart of the special purpose vehicle in the BVI and all sorts of stuff. I said, "Oh, you're doing a tokenization of real estate, are you?" And they said, "How do you know that?" It's like, it just looks like all the others that have failed.
There are other examples.
Actually, can we just stick on that, actually, because I've heard it so many times, this tokenization. So Gary, what's missing, guys? Is it digital touching analog? Is that the weakness? Where does it go wrong?
The ones usually, well, there's multiple. One is that sometimes the technology isn't quite the level it needed to be, or I think it is now. But usually, it's the people who come up with the idea of technologists who haven't actually bothered checking. Who haven't actually bothered checking what the laws are. And if you think financial services have got laws, every other industry as well has. And so real estate, whether it's a realtor in the US or whether it's going via land registry in the UK or whatever, there's all sorts of stuff around limits. So in the UK, which is an example I happen to know about, there's a limit to how many people can be on the title deed of a property.
I didn't know that, actually. Interesting.
Yeah. And so when people say, "Oh, we're buying this block of flats and we're going to tokenize the block of flats into 1 million tokens," you can't do that. So the normal workaround I should actually say, if you'd like to know the normal workaround, get in touch with me separately, and I could probably make loads of money out of it, but it's been done so many times. So what you actually do is you create a special purpose vehicle. So a separate
I can
company.
see that to own the real estate, so to speak, and then you sort of token it.
And you tokenize the special purpose vehicle. But then that starts making it look like a security, which means you fall foul of all sorts of other regulations.
But that's essentially, special vehicle. Essentially, it's a limited company with shares, which is securities, I guess, isn't it? Really? That sounds right. Yeah. Okay.
And there was one called a stating. I think it was actually the guy who's running STX a while back. So heavy financial services individual. I think they were securitizing in Luxembourg. But again, everyone says this is one of the killer applications of this. And I'm still waiting.
Yeah,
I'm same here, guys. I'm hearing it over and over again. Yeah, killer app. Yeah, physical assets. Yeah. It's like, okay, great.
So Dom, coming back to your original thing, I don't know of any examples of anyone using specifically ERC 1155 or even ERC 721 combined with ERC 20, any of these tokenization standards. But if we abstract that away and we talk about real estate being tokenized, I think the closest you'll get to a good candidate for success is TPX. But ping me a note. I can do a mutual intro with Anthony. He's a really good guy who knows a lot of the traditional financial services regulation and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. He writes some common sense stuff. I'm going to swing this over a moment to Elena, because Elena is a superstar who stayed quiet and always ends up asking what I describe as the Columbo question.
No. Today,
no pressure. We're waiting.
I'm only following today and listening to.
Okay. Yeah, because Elena sometimes will listen to something and she'll say, about 55 minutes ago, you mentioned something, and it's always a brilliant question as well. So I thought I'd give the opportunity there. So it's like,
the guy just pinged me and he told me for us to look at LaMelo Ball NFTs. Is the basketball player, where he already launched 8 different dynamic NFTs. Yeah. Let me just Google the guy. It maintains records of his game stats, blah blah blah. Changes accordingly the game statistics, etc. So very interesting. I didn't know it could apply to actually sports. Real life sports, like collectibles from players and so on. That's very interesting.
Well, that's the whole thing about NFTs, isn't it? It started off with tokenization of digital art, then of music, then of any other media, and then it went on to collectibles, then it went on to the gaming space and everything. This is where I think NFTs, I describe them as doing on the blockchain what the blockchain should have done years ago. This whole ability to track and trace things, which is really good. Okay, so just conscious of, we've only got about 5 minutes left.
There's something I would like to bring to the discussion.
Go for it.
MiCA or MiCA, whatever. Don't forget, 18 goes to the European Parliament. 18 of 19, there's a vote. And it looks like very good. I've spoken with a few people, that I know in the Parliament. And it looks very, very positive at the moment, So that, for me, is going to be, I think, a game changer. And I don't think the UK want to stay behind that, because if European Union approves, it's going to be between European Union and Emirates, Dubai or Abu Dhabi, and I think then that is going to be total game changer for the rest of the world, because then Hong Kong is just waiting to see what happens. Hong Kong will come alive as well. I know Japan is going to do some big things. But I have some intel that is, I don't want to share yet, but, there's some big things coming out of Japan as well. Okay. Very soon.
JT, just a quick one for everyone, in case anyone isn't aware, because I saw some nodding, and I saw some blank faces. MiCA is the markets in crypto assets regulation, which is being controlled through, is it the EU Parliament that's doing it?
Yeah.
I thought Mrs. Jeans was going to hold a book up there, which is MiCA for Dummies 2023.
It'd be a lot bigger than this. Trust me, it'd be a lot bigger.
Yeah, there's a whole load of stuff coming through about regulating crypto assets and all this kind of thing.
And it actually becomes effective in July.
It does.
This year. which is quite amazing, So I don't know. I expect the markets moving incredibly, next week.
If it gets through, actually, yeah, it'll be interesting, actually, adoption. But I guess it sort of standardizes. It makes crypto more old school financial products, I guess, in the EU, doesn't it? I guess because it's going to provide protection too, isn't it? I think it's going to provide everything else.
No, it's quite good actually, because it means that companies can launch tokens. I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that they have done. I have to be honest. I actually put some of the things that I think is quite important that they've done is the separation from exchange custodians. I mean, the whole thing is really, really segmented.
Oh, interesting.
And we should, and also the regulation on stables is quite heavy, which should be as well, So I think it's very positive for us. At least we know, in what legal framework we should do something, which is what we need.
It's interesting you mentioned, the analysis I've heard from my side, so I did with heavy regulators already. There's nothing really game changing in MiCA. I think it just standardizes. Most places you've got separate custodian and exchange rules. Well, MAS has custody, I think, coming in later this year. But Hong Kong, the concern I'm hearing, again, nothing to do by Binance, this is me and what I'm hearing is, everyone loves Hong Kong, I love it, but no one's touching it, or people are concerned about it simply because, of course, the big brother next door.
I would disagree with that. I'm sorry, because I was just there and I spent 3 weeks there investigating companies that are heavily involved in crypto out there. And one thing I did happen to notice out there is mining. Mining has exploded. And I couldn't find out what was propagating that. I couldn't, for whatever reason, mining has taken off out there. And it didn't make any sense.
Mining in Hong Kong, is that what you're saying? Yes, in Hong Kong.
Yes, I believe it or not.
But mining's not a regulated activity under HKMA.
Well, that's right. So, but then again, where are you going to put it? Because Hong Kong Island's only so big. So
I thought Shenzhen would have been the obvious one. Yeah, but they don't do it on mainland, do they?
Well,
it's banned on mainland.
Well, I think they do. They obviously do it on mainland.
They do.
They steal all the energy. Believe me, they're very. It's very cleverly done out there. No two ways about it.
I think there is a good reason for mining really picking up there. But like Dom, I'm not going to talk about it while we're recording it. Because definitely.
But it was more the regulated space because Custonomy, I'm very close to. They're Hong Kong and HKMA regulated and not regulated in the sandbox. No, I love Hong Kong. I just don't see, from a massive pickup or game changer from their regulatory space compared to say MAS or MiCA as a discussion point, it being a big game changer for HKMA and driving a lot of new business there. Japan definitely coming through. Shinzo Bank and others have been pushing for some time. But, I worry for Hong Kong. There's a lot of work going on, but I think there's still got a major political issue before you'd find a huge amount of global investment going to a regulated space. But mining totally makes sense. And I think, Gary, you and I should have a chat as well, because it's funny, I'd argue the Middle East and other spaces are now becoming some of the biggest miners globally because they've changed the mindset around looking at it as a store of energy rather than and a store of excess energy rather than the sort of standard economic space and money.
Right, folks.
The interesting thing about Hong Kong, if I could just finish with this, the interesting thing about Hong Kong is that you've got stores popped up everywhere for trading. There's crypto shops everywhere on the corner shop. So they know it's happening. It's just like gambling in Hong Kong. It's frowned upon to gamble in Hong Kong, in Asia. It's just frowned upon. But these shops are everywhere and everybody trades it. From the bookmaker to little people sweeping the streets, everybody is on their phones trading it. So it's there and people are trading it. So the HKMA has to put rules in place, and they have looked like they are making progress in that area. It might be slow, but they are adopting it.
Folks, really sorry, we're going to have to call a day on this. As is always the case, these sessions get more interesting as the closer the countdown to the end of the session goes. But thanks very much for the contributions and everything there. Really interesting conversation, definitely. So thank you for coming. Hope anyone who watches this afterwards enjoys that as well.
And is it every week then? Every week, same time, Gary?
Yeah, every Sunday evening. I don't know how you all found out about it tonight because I stick it on WhatsApp, Telegram, sometimes on Signal, Facebook.
I'll stick it on a few groups. I'm on a few groups too, actually.
Yeah. But yeah, everyone's always welcome. But have a great day.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.